Okay, so week one results are in, and I must say I'm a little bit surprised, a little bit excited. My math test was not all that pretty last week, and you can see from the Garmin data that I've logged on day one of the blog post that I was sitting somewhere around 620, 630s, 640s, so obviously slow down a little bit as you sort of get into the run. But what's really, so if we call it a 630 average, I think is something like that. After 9 days, this is I think the 10th day of training, and I'll do a weekly summary like this, but here's a wrap up of sort of what's happened. From Monday to Sunday last week, I logged 6.5 hours. I did 61 kilometers, so it was all at that very slow heart rate training. I had very mixed sleep, to be honest. I think a 6-month-old baby will do that to you sometimes. So some nights good quality sleep, other nights broken sleep, and it's still Mel doing all the hard work getting up during the night. The interesting thing though is looking at the numbers. Already my pace per kilometre has come down from that 6:30 to where now I'm seeing kilometres that are popping in at 6 minutes, 5:55s, 5:58. So that's some 30 seconds per kilometre difference that it's come down. And to put that into perspective, I kind of looked at the pace and quantified it back. Even though I'm going to run faster than 140 beats a minute, this is about building that aerobic base. But if we just take that aerobic base pace at 6 minutes 30 or 6 minutes 40, that's like a 4 hour, 40 minute marathon. And at 6 minute per K, it's a 4 hour and 11 minute marathon. So that's kind of like slicing off 30 minutes of marathon time in 10 days of training. And that's not obviously exactly how it'll work. But what's really interesting about this is this. In the last 4 months, I've ran 2 marathons and 1 ultra. And with all the training in between that, and we're talking three and a half hour sessions in mountains and all this sort of stuff, and eating clean, and I haven't changed my diet one bit. I didn't lose a single kilo in all that running. In the last 9 days, I have dropped 1.2 kilo in body fat. I had my body scan at the start of this, so I've done a week 1 body scan, which you'll see in one of the posts. I will do that every month or 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll keep an eye on how this whole fat adaptation sort of happens. But this is just so interesting what's happening already, and chatting with some of the girls down at RK Pod, it's quite amazing how much fat the body can strip off when you work in that aerobic base. But here's the kicker. In the last week, and I'm not proud of this because when you see the numbers on paper, it's not real cool, but in the last week I've drank 11 beers. Now, I'm certainly not a big beer drinker, but I like to have a beer, you know, when you finish the day and all that sort of stuff. We typically run in the morning, although I did do a couple of night runs, but I'll have 1 beer and sometimes have 2 beers, and that's kind of where I'm max, and some nights I don't have any. But when you do that 5 days in a week, and obviously we're getting pretty close to Christmas, but that's 10 beers, and I've had 11 beers already this week. I've had 3, and I'll pull it up and not have any for the rest of the week now because I'm really curious to see what happens. But if I was a marketer, which I am, and if I was in marketing and I was at a beer company and I put out an ad, man drinks 11 beers and loses 1.2 kilo in body fat, you would have a best-selling beer on the market in no time. Obviously, this has got nothing to do with the beer, everything to do with the aerobic heart rate training that I am pumping out. But really interesting sort of for week 1, just where things are sitting. I am quite surprised that the pace has come down so significantly. I certainly don't expect it to continue that way every single run or every single week. And I'll only do this sort of maximum aerobic function test probably every 4 to 5 weeks because you get a good idea of the pace as you're sort of going. So we'll see what happens. I look forward to keeping you up to date with the experiment as we sort of trudge along. Looking to probably do 6-7 hours again this week, so I'm not trying to overdo it in the beginning. Just want to build a base where my body just builds, gets strong, and we'll see what the weekly wrap up brings next week, and hopefully no more than 3 beers on the list. Thanks guys, catch you on the next one.